All right. Well, thank you so much. I am recording this so that the people who are not here will have a chance to listen, and you guys can listen to it again. And Lusandra indicated to me that she has to leave uh, in a short time, so we're going to try to pack in as much as we can for right now. But what we're going to do right now, and that is, by the way, the handout that I shared through Google Docs, is I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do a little PowerPoint. So again, I want to thank you very much for taking your time to sign up and join me about pricing Own Your Sweet Spot confidently. And I know that there are many things people could do with their time. So the fact that you honor me being here, I really appreciate that for sure. So what is pricing? It's an exchange rate that we as individuals put on the tangible and intangible aspects of our businesses. In other words, there's a value that we have and we're seeking an exchange with cash. So I asked you each about what is your business, but I'm also want to know what your ideal clients are. Now, I think, Lusandra, you indicated that it's that home-based business. And I think even Lydia, you were basically saying it's the woman entrepreneur. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. So both of you have a sense of who your ideal client is. And then you may want to take a note. You don't have to jot this down because this is something we're going to cover in a bit. But, what are the actual services that you offer? Sometimes we offer individual service. Sometimes it's a package of services. And of course, what do you currently charge? Almost everyone who's ever worked with me has kind of gone away and has given themselves a raise. So be prepared that may be a result by next week of our work together, is that you may value and see what you're offering in a different way. So price is what we pay, but really what it is that people are seeking from us is value. They want value. And I've always said to my clients that when a prospect is asking you about your fee and then they squawk, it's because you haven't presented the value of what you're doing and help them link to that value as something that they want. Because price doesn't matter when the value is right. People won't bicker or quibble about price when the value is what they're seeking. So this is the key to pricing your services successfully, is knowing what that value is. And the value is in the eyes of the consumer, not your own eyes. So I'm going to go over a little bit of how do you figure out what to charge. There are many factors that go into it. Factor number one is you need to calculate your costs. And there are the costs that you're paying directly for whatever you're offering. For example, there is equipment involved. I know Lusandra is going to be sending me a workbook, although it's electronic. If there were a hard copy, that's certainly a cost, that sort of thing. Staffing, I know, Lydia, you have staffing at a distance. Are they like 1099 type people or independent?
They're independent, and yeah, they're in India.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or were. Or were?
Well, he still is, but I'm not working with him anymore.
Oh, okay. And so there are some very direct costs of our time. The other day, I was working with a client who happens to be making jewelry. So there's equipment involved in the making of the jewelry. When she goes to a show, there's staffing time that's needed to be at the show. There are supplies that have to get replenished. So those are what I mean by direct costs. But then there's something called indirect costs. And these are the costs that are part of doing business. And so, for example, having my taxes prepared is an indirect cost, but it's still a cost of my doing business. I can't be in business without that. Paying for Ventif and paying for my internet, these are indirect costs. The training that I've accumulated over time, that each of us has accumulated, traveling to and from client meetings, marketing expense, overhead, office expenses. So all of these costs have to be factored in when you're trying to determine what price you're going to charge. And the direct costs are costs that get replenished, whereas the indirect costs are often more fixed. Since we're so small, if you have any questions or you want clarification, feel free to speak up.
I thought that marketing. That's something more for Lusandra to address. What, for me, defining direct and indirect costs for me, I would think that your Ventif subscription and your internet subscription, those and web hosting, those are direct costs rather than indirect.
It may depend on the business that you're in, whether they get classified as direct or indirect.
Okay.
Yeah, but that doesn't impact the tax deductibility, though. It's
correct.
Deductible. It's still a business cost.
Right. But in terms of trying to help us figure out what costs, a lot of times people only look at, like the gal that I was working with last week, she was only looking at her supplies, but she had all these other costs involved, and because she was fulfilling these things, she wasn't thinking about that. So I'm going to move on to the next category, and that is to look at the market. So you need to look at what other people are charging. And, Lydia, you even said something like the Ventif system, because of its comprehension and so forth, it's highly competitive in terms of cost with other solutions that are out there in the marketplace. And again, Lusandra, that's probably something that you look at too. You're the first virtual tax preparer that I've ever met. And I remember when we talked, it blew my mind to think that you could be anywhere in the United States and prepare my taxes in Massachusetts.
Technology is fabulous.
I know, it truly is.
But what it allows me to do, though, when you said it, looking what the competition charges, where someone like me, because I may live in a lower cost state, my prices would be more competitive than someone that's, say, living in a higher cost state. So I may get clients from the higher cost of living states because because of the price difference. So yeah, we definitely look at that from a virtual aspect.
Yeah, right. So my landlord is letting me know that he is coming to repair something. He said he'd be coming at a late hour, so if we get interrupted, it will be very briefly. So we do have to look at what our competition charges, and sometimes we make choices based upon that. So for example, some people want to be the lowest priced, as if that is going to distinguish them and allow them to, get a bigger market share. I never, ever advise my clients to be looking at that, because again, it goes to value. We can have two attorneys, and if one attorney has certain expertise and, for example, let's say you're in the midst of a divorce and it's a sticky financial situation, and one attorney is relatively inexperienced and the other has a master's in taxation, you're not going to quarrel about the higher fee that that second attorney is charging. So it's more than just looking at your competition and what they charge, but you need to be aware of that in terms of setting your own price. The third factor is, what are customers accustomed to paying? What do they normally pay for services of your sort? Do they tend to be more high-end, the customers that you're working with, medium or low-end? And again, that will help you consider what you might be charging based upon who you're attracting as customers. And of course, many of us will say, well, you know what? It's the same amount of work. Why don't I attract customers that are willing to pay a higher price? But that's where value comes in. And this is a factor that many times gets overlooked, especially when you're asked to do, for example, many times coaches or consultants are brought in to do an hour. And so it's like, well, they're investing an hour. But the truth is that it isn't just that hour that they spent today with that prospect or client. It's the fact that they've invested years of time to study and learn and have experience that really goes into what their price is. And there's a story told, that you may be familiar with it, where it happens to be a repair person with a computer. And you know, nowadays, when the computer goes on the fritz, I mean, we're like, yeah, we got to get that fixed, because for many of us, that's our business, our lifeline. And so the consumer comes with the computer to be repaired, and it takes the repair person, maybe 5 minutes to open up the computer, wiggle something around or whatever, and boom, it's all fixed. And the bill is for $400. And it's like, holy moly, the consumer says, you know, that is a huge price. And, you know, what you did was, you know, like 5 minutes worth of work. And the response, of course, is it isn't the 5 minutes. It's the fact that I knew what to do in that 5 minutes that enabled me to charge that rate. So this is important to think about, the fact that each of us brings a wealth of experience, not only our credential, whatever that might be in our area of expertise, but, you know, years of experience of developing our knowledge, our skills, our resources, and that sort of thing. And then there's a big question, do we charge hourly or do we charge per project, depending upon what the, again, the service might be that we're offering. And I suspect that, you know, Lusandra, that particularly pertains to you. You know that working on a certain kind of situation is going to require a certain amount of hours, but do you, quote, charge hourly, or is it the project, you know, the project of completing the tax preparation? Lydia, this probably doesn't pertain to you as much in terms of hourly. But that leads us to the fact that we need to have a fair profit margin. You know, and many people will sell themselves short. Most of us set way too low a price, and you need to put it a little higher than you would normally be inclined to do in order to have a fair profit margin. So these are the factors that go into thinking about price, but the most important thing is the value that we bring to our clients. And this is where we're going to spend the rest of our session today. And there is homework during the week, because when you understand the value that you bring to your clients, to the consumer, all of a sudden, this is going to empower you and see yourself in a very different light and be able to present what you're offering to the consumer with tremendous confidence, not only about the fact you can help them with their problem or issue, but that you're the right person to do so. And so, Lydia, this is where I'm going to ask you to volunteer. And Lusandra, we're going to use you and do you in the Facebook group. There is a Facebook group that both of you have been invited to, and as well as other members. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a look at the value. Oops, I want to make this bigger. The value that each of you brings to your consumer. So Lusandra, until you have to leave, which is very shortly, do you understand what Lydia does well enough to begin to identify what would that value be from your perspective? And I'm going to take notes here. I gather you guys can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, what value I bring?
Yeah, yes, but I'm going to ask you not to speak and have Lusandra tell us, from your perspective, Lusandra, what value is Lydia bringing?
She is actually a few things. She is bringing efficiency. She is bringing cohesiveness in that what she has put in a package now is going to save me time. And when I measure that time based on like what I would say, let's say $125 per hour. Well, if her system is going to save me, an hour of my time, well, if I'm saying that's $125 and it saves me an hour of my time in a day, well, her, that charge of, I think I saw it's $150 a month is the opening, is her base price. Well, if I get saved $125 in an hour in a day, that is well paid for what her service offers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can spend that time focusing on a client, and I can, figure out, okay, well, if this is going to save me this much time, how many clients do I need to have in order to pay for this?
Right, so you can see the value to you that way. And it is a very comprehensive system that she's offering. And it's all inclusive. And I don't know, Lusandra, if you want to pipe in, and Lydia, you feel free now to pipe in with some of the values you think you're bringing to the consumer as well.
When I first started, we first started with email marketing application, and over the January 1 in 2001. So we're going into 19 years. And this has grown over those years. And my original site said, save time, save money, save aggravation. And I think that's still true today, although what we're bringing to market is far more comprehensive.
So what I'm trying to do is to show you that there's even more value you're bringing than you may have thought. So what is it worth to me to have this one system that does everything? So it is saving time. It is saving aggravation. It's allowing me to be more effective.
And maintain better relationships with your customers.
Exactly.
And have more control over the funnel or the customer experience.
And it helps establish processes and systems that let you better manage your business and grow your business more successfully, smarter. It just helps you function more smart. What I want to say, it's a smarter. You're smarter, not harder. Wow.
I have a feeling, and what I'm gonna ask you to do, Lydia, is I'm gonna ask you to, or I can post this in the Facebook group, and other people can add to it too. Because we're only scratching the surface in terms of what you're bringing. You know, what does this mean to me as the consumer?
It gets kind of hard for me because I'm so close to it, and also, Lysandra, I want to thank you for it. I'm so gratified that you really expressed exactly what I think about what Venif delivers. But I also love the example that you gave of really putting numbers to uh, the value of, yeah, of the time saved, not to mention just the technology. Uh, when you have one subscription instead of 10 or 15 subscriptions to different applications, you're automatically saving money there.
Well, and the confusion, you
Yeah,
know, confusion, and again, more time to learn multiple applications. And they don't interface.
right. And they
And
don't. Yeah, one of the things that I like to talk about is that something that might not be immediately, it is noticeable, but it's not something that people really talk about, is when you're jumping from one application to another. If you're also jumping from one customer user interface and customer experience to another. So with it is not only it's the same UI, user interface, customer experience across the entire platform. So it's easy, uh, particularly it makes it really easy in small companies to grow into different responsibilities when you go to different parts of the platform and it already looks familiar.
right. So anything else occur? I'm not sure if Lysandra is with us still, because I think she told me she had to go at 8:30, which would be 5:30 Pacific time.
Uh,
So this is in view of the fact that, you know, she needs to go, and that what we want to do is continue to do this work on the Facebook group. So what I'm
okay.
going to do is I'm going to post this, and for all of us to add to it. So what you'll need to do, Lydia, is to give more comprehensive information about, see, I think the message from Lysandra. Oh, according to Inc., the cost of multitasking is 450 billion.
Wow.
I know, huge, right? I'll just put that over here. Oh, can I? So what I'm going to have both of you do is there'll be separate threads for each of you in the Facebook group and for the other people who didn't come tonight. And what we'll do is each of us is going to be responsible for going there, you know, a couple times this week to add to the list of the value for each of the people participating, because
Okay.
just look at what we have here. We probably have about 20 items already. And some of these, like you said, Lydia, you had thought of, but many of them, maybe the way we are expressing it is a little different than the way you thought about it.
Right.
And hence, doesn't that feel empowering in terms of what it is you bring to the table?
Right. Because usually, a lot of times, like I love that Lucinda put it into real dollar figures, because a lot of times in sales, you kind of leave this, you will ask a question like, what is it costing you now? And if you just stop there without really working with prospect to say, well, how much time or how much time are you spending doing these tasks now, and how much time will you save by moving over to Ventive, and what does that translate to in terms of hard dollars?
Right.
Because somebody's doing that work and you're paying them, whether
Okay.
it's you or somebody else. Yeah, that's great.
So I am getting a message here from Zoom, which is strange, about the fact that this meeting's going to end in 3 minutes. And I know I have Zoom Pro, but they don't
Yeah.
seem to be recognizing that I have Zoom Pro. So I'm kind of concerned that we might get cut off mid-sentence. So here's what I'm going to propose. That we're going to take it to Facebook and continue to work on it this week, so that by next Monday, everybody has a long list of at least 30 different items that show their value. And again, it shouldn't all be coming from you. It should be coming from the other participants who can help identify from their perspective what value you're bringing to the consumer.
Okay.
Okay, so that is our homework assignment. You've each been invited to the group. I've also shared the Google Docs so that you can take notes about this. Are there any questions? It looks like Lusandra might have one. She says she got it. All right, perfect. Because I want to do the very same thing for you, Lusandra, as we started to do for Lydia. So in fact, since you need to go, and I'm concerned my Zoom is going to fail in 2 minutes, it says, Lydia, how about you and I take it offline, and we'll start our thing for Lusandra, and we'll surprise her with the things that we put down. Fair enough? Yeah,
Yep.
she likes that. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty, perfect. So I will look to connect with you guys next Monday. I'm going to figure out why my Zoom is kicking me off between now and then. And I will also be sending you the video of this, the recording of this.
Okay.
All right, to your sales success.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye for now. And Lydia,
Bye.
you and I can do this by phone, all right?
Sure.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Thanks.